The intense, unforgiving studio lights of the Nairobi News Bureau burned down on Zara O'Connell. She adjusted the microphone, the glass anchor desk cool beneath her fingertips. A world map glowed ominously behind her in the metallic blue and silver set. Thousands of miles away, her New York counterparts were waiting to cross live for a primetime segment on wildlife conservation. Zara had conducted hundreds of these satellite interviews over her decade-long career. She was a professional. She was ready. But today, the air in the studio was thick with something she couldn't film. Suspense. Just feet off camera, a specialized transport crate sat waiting. Inside was an animal, a large, powerful predator chosen by the local sanctuary as an ambassador. Zara had requested the surprise. She had insisted that she must not know which animal was coming. She needed this moment to be authentic, a genuine, unscripted display of conservation success. But as the floor director began the countdown, Zara heard a low, distinctive sound, a soft, guttural sawing that vibrated through the floorboards. It was a sound that scientists say is reserved only for family, a sound she had not heard in 5 long years, a sound that, if it belonged to the creature waiting in that crate, was about to tear her professional composure apart and expose the deepest, most impossible bond she had ever known to 20 million viewers on live television. Before we witnessed the incredible, chaotic moment that unfolded in that Nairobi studio, the moment a woman's memory of love collided with a wild predator's memory of family, we need to understand how 2 lives, separated by 5 years, 2 continents, and the cruel laws of nature, could share a memory so profound. If this story reminds you that love transcends species and that animals feel and remember in ways we are only beginning to comprehend, please like this video and subscribe to Wild Heart Stories right now. And tell us, what country are you watching from? Drop your name in the comments below. 5 years earlier, Zara O'Connell was 28 and driven. Her career trajectory at the major Denver affiliate was flawless, built on a foundation of meticulously researched, emotionally detached reporting. When the network needed a foreign correspondent to cover the escalating poaching crisis in East Africa, Zara was chosen for her ability to remain objective under pressure. Africa was a continent she knew only from news reports. She didn't own a pet. Her life was defined by concrete goals and clean deadlines. She landed at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport with the usual tools of her trade: cameras, lights, and an impenetrable shield of professionalism. She had no idea she was stepping onto the stage of her own existence, about to meet the creature who would dismantle everything she believed about detachment. The Masai Mara was an ocean of gold and green, immense and overwhelming. Her local guide, a quiet, knowing man named Japhet, pointed out the subtle movements of the land, sensing Zara's internal disconnection from the wild beauty. Her base of operations was the Mara Conservation Center, run by Dr. Nala Okello, a Kenyan veterinarian with a steely resolve honed by years of heartbreak and perseverance. Nala was a force, calm, competent, and fiercely dedicated to the animals the poachers sought to destroy. The first week was exactly what Zara expected: footage of rangers, interviews with officials, and statistics about a crisis too vast to feel personally. She was building a compelling, Emmy-worthy piece, but her heart remained safely behind that professional shield. That shield shattered on the 9th day. The radio crackled awake at 4 a.m., a distress call. Japhet drove the Land Rover through the rugged darkness, the ride violently jarring. Zara clung to her equipment, her stomach tight with an unfamiliar anxiety. They found the patrol standing in a hushed circle around a tragic scene in the dew-soaked grass. A magnificent female cheetah lay motionless, her breathing shallow and ragged. Her left front leg was horribly snared, a common cruel trap set by bush meat hunters. Dr. Nala estimated she had been trapped for days, infection already creeping in. But the sight that stole Zara's breath and lowered her camera was the creature pressed against the dying mother's belly. It was a cub, perhaps 6 weeks old, no bigger than a kitten, covered in fuzzy, matted gray-brown fur. It was terrified, yet it would not move. It was making a sound that echoed the deepest sorrow Zara had ever heard. A high-pitched, desperate, repetitive chip, 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 the distress call of a cheetah cub seeking its mother. Dr. Nala and the rangers worked frantically for 2 hours, administering antibiotics, IV fluids, and a constant stream of quiet, hopeful words. Zara filmed, her hands shaking so badly that the footage was unusable, not from fear of the wild, but from the raw, exposed tragedy unfolding before her lens. She watched a mother fighting a final, losing battle for her child, and every time the mother's breathing hitched, the cub pressed closer. At sunrise, the struggle ended. Dr. Nala sat back, sweat and tears streaking the dirt on her face. The rangers removed their hats in a silent, profound gesture, and the cub's call intensified. It did not stop. It began circling the cool body, nudging, crying, making a sound so utterly broken that it felt like a physical violation of the air. Zara stood frozen, unable to look away from the tiny ball of spotted grief. The cub was fiercely aggressive towards anyone who tried to approach, hissing and spitting, his tiny claws unsheathed. Dr. Nala finally had an idea. She took Zara's heavy field jacket, impregnated with the unique scent of a human who had worn it for 9 consecutive days, and placed it carefully near the cub. The cub froze. It sniffed the fabric cautiously. Then it crawled onto the jacket and curled up, fitting perfectly into the space where a pair of hands could cradle it. The sanctuary was 30 miles away. Zara held the cub for the entire drive, its heart a frantic, tiny drum against her palm. Every few minutes it would let out that piercing, desolate chip sound, and Zara would talk back to it, feeling the invisible fracture in her own chest grow wider. Under the clinical lights of the sanctuary's examination room, Dr. Nala delivered the verdict: severe malnutrition and dehydration. The cub would need bottle feeding every 3 hours for weeks. The sanctuary was already overwhelmed. Zara didn't think. She spoke. "I'll take the night shifts," she heard herself say. "I can work on my script while I feed him." It was a lie. It was purely because holding that fragile life had awakened an instinct she didn't know she possessed. That evening, the cub refused the bottle. Zara tried every position. The cub cried, squirmed, and pushed the nipple away. In an act of pure exhaustion, Zara lay down on the cot, placed the cub on her chest, and offered the bottle. The cub stopped crying immediately. It pressed its tiny nose into the hollow of her neck, sniffed deeply, and began to feed. Zara named him Kito, meaning jewel or precious one in Swahili. The 3-week assignment stretched to 6. Zara fabricated excuses for her news director. The truth was that she couldn't leave Kito. He grew strong quickly, learning to walk, then run. And through it all, he was a compass needle fixed on Zara. When she entered the nursery, he gave a welcoming, sawing cry. Dr. Nala explained the brutal science. Cheetahs bond intensely. When a cub is orphaned this young, it imprints. "You are his mother now, Zara. This is family." The realization hit Zara like a physical blow. She was now the entire world for a wild predator. Her story was no longer about statistics. It was about a connection that should not exist. Japhet, the guide, simply smiled. "The land chooses who belongs," he would say quietly. Dr. Nala warned her. Kito was too habituated to ever be released. His life would be lived at the sanctuary, and Zara could not take him home. Every night when Kito fell asleep on her chest, his purr vibrating through her ribs, Zara felt the boundaries of her old life dissolving. The call from Denver came on a Tuesday. Her news director demanded her return within 72 hours. Her career was waiting. She stared at Kito. He was healthy, strong, and deeply bonded with Grace, one of the sanctuary workers. He would be fine. Animals forgot. But when she hung up and Kito turned from the window, giving her that happy, familiar sawing cry, she knew the abandonment would be devastating to them both. She had one final night. Zara held Kito in the nursery, his young body now a heavy, substantial weight. She talked to him, telling him about snow, about deadlines, about the life she had built. She promised she would never forget him. Kito simply listened, his amber eyes locked on her face. When she fell silent, hollowed out, he pushed his powerful head against her chin and purred. A gesture of comfort for the one who should have been comforting him. She left before the first light. It was the only way. She slipped out, every silent step on the nursery floor echoing the screaming agony in her heart. She could not look back. Jafet drove her to the airport in silence. As she stepped out of the vehicle, he squeezed her hand. "The land has claimed you, Zara. You will return. This is not goodbye." She nodded, walked into the terminal, and flew halfway around the world, leaving behind the piece of her soul that finally felt whole. The 23-hour flight was a blur of aching sleeplessness. When she finally landed in Denver, the November cold was a physical shock. Her apartment was sterile and empty. She sat on the couch and cried until there was nothing left but a cold, heavy ache. The story aired 3 weeks later, winning awards. Zara accepted them with a smile that never reached her eyes. Dr. Nala's first email arrived. "Update on our jewel." Keto had been frantic for days, searching the nursery, but he was resilient. He had bonded with Grace, was eating again, growing. Attached was a photo. Keto at 3 months, his eyes already the stunning amber of his wild lineage, staring directly at the camera. Zara printed it and hid it in a drawer. The updates continued, a monthly torment. Zara watched him grow through a screen, a year old, magnificent, healthy, and completely unaware of the woman thousands of miles away who refreshed her inbox obsessively. She told herself the pain would fade, but 2 years later she still woke up to the phantom sensation of a warm weight on her chest. Then came the observation that haunted her. Dr. Nala mentioned that Keto had become an ambassador, gentle with everyone, except when an American visitor came to the sanctuary. "He becomes agitated," Dr. Nala wrote. "He searches their faces with an intensity that unnerves people. We do not understand why, or perhaps he has simply never stopped looking for you." Zara read the line 17 times. 3 years after leaving, Zara was offered a promotion, primary international correspondent, traveling globally. The thought struck her. She could go back, not to stay, but just to see him once, to know that the bond she remembered had been real. She waited another 2 years. 5 years had passed. Keto was a fully grown predator. She was terrified he would have forgotten her. Animals did not hold on to these memories. Going back would only prove that the connection had been a fantasy. But she couldn't shake the image of Keto searching every American face. Finally, she submitted the proposal, a conservation series based in East Africa, starting with the Mara Conservation Center. The network approved it instantly. 5 years and 2 months after her agonizing departure, Zara stepped off the plane in Nairobi. The humidity, the smells, the sounds, they wrapped around her like a living memory. She told herself she was there to film, to maintain professional distance. She was lying. She spent 2 weeks filming. Every night she thought about the Mara Conservation Center, only a few hours away. On day 15, Dr. Nala called. "I heard you were in the country, Zara. Were you planning to sneak home without saying hello to your jewel?" "I was not sure I should," Zara admitted. "He wouldn't remember me." "Come to the sanctuary," Nala said. "There is something you need to see." Zara drove alone. Nala led her toward a large enclosure. Inside, a cheetah, magnificent and enormous, was resting. Keto. He looked perfect, healthy, and completely at ease. Zara's heart crumbled. "He doesn't know you are here yet," Nala whispered. "Call him. Use the voice." Zara swallowed the terror. "Keto," she called, her voice a rough whisper. She cleared her throat and tried again, stronger, injecting the frequency that had soothed him to sleep. "Keto." The cheetah's ear twitched. Keto's head turned slowly. For a long moment, he simply stared toward the fence, relaxed. Then he stood. His movement was sudden, explosive. He crossed the enclosure in seconds, his eyes fixed on one point. He slammed against the chain link with desperate force, and he began to make the sound, the deep, continuous, frantic sawing cry, the sound of family reunion. Zara fell to her knees, her hands finding the warm, massive body pressing against her side. Keto was rubbing his face against the fence. "He remembers," Zara whispered, the tears streaming down her face. "He remembers me." That evening, Zara requested one thing, to feature the Cheetah Ambassador segment live from Nairobi on Tuesday. "You want to recreate this moment on live television?" Nala asked. "I want the world to know that this bond is real," Zara said, her voice resolute. "I want Keto to know I came back, that I never forgot him, and I am so sorry I ever left." The Nairobi studio was tense. Zara sat at the desk, composed. The crate was wheeled into position. Zara heard the low, questioning sawing cry. 5, 4, 3, 2. Zara delivered her opening flawlessly. The crate door opened. The moment she heard the soft pad of paws on the floor, her composure dissolved. The chirping started, low, then insistent. "Keto!" Zara gasped. Grace, the handler, lost her grip as the 120-pound cheetah launched forward. He crossed the professional set in 3 bounds, directly toward the woman behind the desk. Keto did not attack. He slammed his massive head against Zara's chest, directly over her heart. The sound of his continuous, rumbling purr filled the studio, overriding the mic feedback. Zara's arms flew up, finding the familiar pattern of his fur. The television makeup ran down her face with her tears. "Keto," she repeated, sobbing. Dr. Nala stepped forward, addressing the camera. "What you are witnessing is a reunion 5 years in the making. This cheetah, Keto, was orphaned as a cub. The woman holding him became his mother. He never forgot her." The camera stayed rolling. Millions watched the private, impossible moment. A journalist finding home in the arms of the creature who had waited for her all along. After the cameras stopped rolling, Zara sat on the studio floor, Keto's massive body purring in her lap. "I'm so sorry, Jewel," she whispered into his fur. Keto responded by pressing his forehead against her chin, the gesture unchanged. The next morning, Dr. Nala showed her a small nursery. "I didn't mention this before," she said, "but Keto is a father." Curled together on a warm blanket were 2 tiny cheetah cubs. They looked up at Zara. "They need round-the-clock care," Nala continued, "bottle feeding every 3 hours, just like Keto did." Zara looked at the cubs and the woman who had preserved this bond. 3 months later, Zara O'Connell officially transferred to the network's Africa desk, based in Nairobi. Her life was dismantled. On her first morning as a permanent resident, she drove to the sanctuary. Keto was waiting at the fence, chirping a welcome. She walked through the gate and into the nursery, where 2 new cubs would grow up knowing the sound of her footsteps, the frequency of her voice, and the particular, steady rhythm of her heartbeat. Some stories end with farewell. This story ends with a family, a love that crossed continents and defied nature, proving that the deepest connections are those we never see coming.